Have you ever heard of the red QR code? It's a popular story on the internet. Normal QR codes are black, but in the red light districts, you can find these red QR codes on telegraph poles or in front of shops, pasted around like graffiti. But when morning comes, they disappear. You mustn't read these codes with your phone's barcode reader. If you do, they'll infect your phone with a virus that will slowly force everything to stop working. It'll link you to a website that sells vulgar films, and when you open this bright red site, you'll find various cursed words written there. It will then take you to a website where you can watch a film of your own death. There's an old woman said to appear in the girls' toilets at high schools, called the Crimson Granny. If you're in the toilet, you might hear a voice asking, "Do you know the Crimson Granny?" If you answer yes, then the Crimson Granny will appear to you within the week. She'll ask you for some water, and the only way to get rid of her is to say, "I don't have any water to give you." If, however, you mess up and accidentally give her some water, then you'll find yourself getting washed away instead. I think we've all done something similar before, but when you're in elementary school, you suddenly do things that have no real meaning, right? One such thing happened to me when I was a kid too. One day, I was lazing around at home after lunch when I suddenly had this bright idea. Jumping on the bedding in the closet would be great fun. I ran upstairs and into my bedroom, flung the closet doors open, and all my bedding was piled up inside. I threw myself into it face first and buried my hands and face in there. Then something suddenly grabbed my wrist. I wasn't able to go near that closet again for years after that. I got a call from my friend telling me that he'd taken a ghost photo and he didn't know what to do. Apparently there was something in the photo from his trip that wasn't supposed to be there. I told him he should take it to a temple or something, but then he hung up without answering. Now, both the photo and my friend are missing. Before my grandmother died, she told me something. Our family has a history of water-related disasters, so you need to be careful around water. You mustn't ever go near the ocean or bodies of water. I forgot all about that and went to the beach with my wife and child. I was the only one who made it home. This happened back when street races used to be a thing. It was 3 a.m. on a southern mountain pass. Usually racing cars filled the pass, but late this weeknight, the fog and I were the only ones there. I happily did a few laps, and then as I turned a corner, someone standing by the guardrail waved at me. Maybe someone's coming at me from around the corner, I thought, slowing down. I raised my hand in thanks, but no other cars appeared. The person waved at me again on my next lap around. Is he making fun of me? On the next lap, I sped up, hoping to scare him, and drove straight for him. But then I realized something. The man wasn't waving at me. He stood next to some flowers placed on the side of the road, and was beckoning me. This isn't a superstition. If you look into a mirror when you're dreaming, it's extremely dangerous. But why is that? Generally, when you appear in your dreams, you are the protagonist. However, there is a good chance that you may also be in somebody else's body. The reason you shouldn't look in a mirror when you're dreaming is because you might confirm this to be a reality. The moment that happens, most people go into a panic and lose sight of themselves. When you wake up, this can cause defects to your memory. In a worst-case scenario, you might never wake up at all. It's unknown why we enter other people's bodies when we dream. But whatever you do, it's not recommended that you play around and try to test this theory for yourself. There is a small village on the verge of dying out called Ikezoe. It's so small that people claim the villagers share in only 3 different last names. Even so, nobody knows for certain just where it is, for it exists on no map. That fact alone probably strikes fear into the hearts of many, because that means Ikezoe village might even be near you. People say that around Obon season, a truck can be seen leaving flowers on the doorsteps of each house in Ikezoe. Supposedly, the mountain behind the village contains a graveyard where all the villagers are buried when they die. These flowers are so the remaining family members can pay their respects, but to the untrained eye, it might look like Ikezoe is a village of the dead. But that's not all. Some say that all who enter the village will die. If you happen to accidentally come across Ikezoe, as some unfortunately have, then you are doomed to die a mysterious death within the next few years. A, B, and C went to an abandoned school to test their courage. Supposedly, lots of strange things took place there. They arrived at the school and stood frozen before it, overwhelmed by its presence. B, the bravest amongst them, then spoke. "What are you, cowards? Fine, I'll go by myself. I'll wave at you guys from the top, so keep an eye out for me." He pushed his fear aside and stepped into the old school. A short while later, a white hand waved from the top floor window. It appeared he had reached the top. He really did it! A and C were impressed. The hand withdrew, and then B returned. "That was awesome! We didn't think you'd actually go up there," they said. "Huh? What are you talking about? I got scared on the way up and came back down. Sorry." A and C turned to look at the school again. White hands were waving out of all the windows, beckoning for them to come inside. I was eating a karaage bento at home whilst watching TV, when suddenly I heard a young woman call out from the front door. "I'm home." "Welcome back," I called in return from the TV. But I didn't have a girlfriend. Nobody was at the door either. I most definitely heard something. Was I imagining things? I was more confused than scared, but I cleaned up and went to bed. I woke up suddenly during the night and tried to roll over. I couldn't move. I looked around and I could sense someone standing in the corner. The bedroom door was slightly open. Round eyes stared at me through the gap. Next thing I knew, it was morning. I spent that night in the nap room at work. I only moved into that apartment 5 days earlier. I can't go back now. I was working part-time at a privately owned convenience store. A woman came in late one night to buy some cigarettes. She told me what brand, and I turned around to get them. When I turned back, she was gone. I was like, huh? But then the following week she came in to buy some cigarettes again, and again she disappeared. Frightened, I went to the employees' room to check the security footage. The moment I turned around, she hid in a blind spot and then crawled into the very same employees' room I was standing in at that moment. I ran out of there that instant without even looking around. I was drinking tea in the kitchen after school when I noticed my mother's dead body stuffed into the storage space under the kitchen floor. Who on earth could have done that? Could it have been my dad? And speak of the devil, he entered the room. "Yumi, your mother was cheating with another man. She was going to leave us and we got into an argument, and I accidentally hit her too hard and killed her." He suddenly started crying. I didn't feel like alerting the police. It honestly felt like what he did was an accident. I decided to hide what he did and continue living with him. Depressed, I went to my room and found a note. "Yumi, run away, quickly. Your father has gone mad." If you were me, who would you believe? My mother or my father? I woke up during the night needing to pee. I live in a tiny apartment with a unit bath, and when I went to the toilet, I realized the front door wasn't locked. As a man who lives alone, I never thought anybody would try to enter my apartment, so I often left the door unlocked. But on this particular day, I had locked the door. The very next moment, the doorknob quietly moved. It seemed somebody was outside and trying to slowly open the door without making a sound. Ever since that night, I've made it a habit to lock the door whenever I get home. This happened last summer when I spent the night at my friend's house. I woke up during the night and went to step out onto the veranda to have a smoke when I heard a cat meowing. He lived on the 3rd floor, so I was like, can a cat even reach this high? Or maybe the next house secretly has one. But then, as I glanced at the neighbours, a woman peeked at me through the partition on the balconies. The meowing was coming from her. The other day, a pervert started chasing me with his pants down, laughing the whole time. His face was so creepy and I was honestly terrified. But then, I started to get more annoyed. "Why are you chasing me?" I screamed. I was so angry I stopped to fight him. I turned around and suddenly the pervert passed right through me. I should have fallen to the ground, but he went right through me just like that, like he didn't exist. He kept laughing the whole time, and then disappeared into the wall, like he'd been sucked in. I thought he was chasing me, but I guess not. When I came home today, something felt off in my room again. It has been feeling like this for a while now. I wanted to know the truth, so I installed a camera inside. It would record everything from when I left for work in the morning until I arrived home in the evening. Once I looked at it, I would know what was going on. When I got home from work, I checked the playback right away. I saw myself rushing out the door for work in the morning. Not long after, a woman I'd never seen before suddenly stepped out of my bedroom. How long had she been in my apartment? I looked around the room, terrified. They were a close couple. Since it was summer vacation, they decided to have a barbecue along the river. There was another group having a barbecue nearby as well. They seemed to be enjoying themselves, but then suddenly the man whispered to his girlfriend, "When I tell you to run, we run. Got it?" "Eh? Why?" she asked, confused. "I'll explain later." A few minutes later, he said, "Run." The two took off at full speed. When they were far enough away, they stopped to catch their breath. "Why did we run?" the girlfriend asked. "You saw those people next to us, right?" "No, not really. They were all eating with their left hands." "That's not odd, is it? Maybe they were all left-handed." "There's no way every single one of them was. But ghosts do the opposite of living people, so they were all dead." Her face showed understanding. "Wow," she said, and started clapping with the back of her hands. It's said there are certain things you shouldn't reflect in the mirror. There is an old legend that states if 3 conditions are met and you look into 2 mirrors opposing each other, then you will see something from another world. This is a story that happened to a certain person on a certain day, at a certain time, in a certain place. When the 3 conditions were met, that person did what they shouldn't have and looked into the opposing mirrors. When they did, the mirrors continued on and on endlessly in each other. Huh? The person noticed something strange. They didn't want to understand it, but they did. In the 4th reflection in the mirrors, the face staring back wasn't actually them. There's a T-junction near my house where a small road meets with a larger highway, and there you can find a magnificent, well-looked-after Jizzo statue. It's a pretty busy road, but seeing the statue there is weird, like, why is it there? But there's a good reason. The T-junction crosses a sidewalk, so apparently there have been numerous fatal accidents there. I don't know what the fatality rate is elsewhere, but here, pretty much everyone dies. There were so many fatal accidents that the local government decided to enshrine a Jizzo statue, and it has been there ever since. There are numerous warning signs leading up as well, so there are almost no accidents now, but the air remains heavy. I have no idea what that place is, but I think some unknown power draws souls there. If there are some spots that give you power, then there must be some that take it away. I went out shopping the other day, and on the way a car pulled out in front of me. I didn't think much of it, but then I noticed something. The driver was chatting animatedly to the passenger, like comically so. All I could see were the dark silhouettes from behind though. But the passenger didn't move very much, unlike the driver. Is he watching the road? I thought. I don't care about your girlfriend, but don't make me crash. The car changed lanes to turn right and then stopped at a red light. Then I pulled up beside it and, curious, I wanted to know who he was talking to. The driver was middle-aged and he kept talking at the red light. To a mannequin. I broke out in goosebumps. The car then turned right and I quietly drove home.